Sanibonani emakhaya, igama lami ngiuNontokozo Gwala, intombi yakamhlabi yalingana phela. Today I want us to talk about Izingane Zesithembu, especially the last episode that was aired last week. We saw Vuyokazi going to consult and see a psychologist in order to take care of her mental state, and in that session we saw Vuyokazi breaking down and explaining her feelings in this kind of a relationship that she is currently as the first girlfriend. For those who don't know, Izingane Zesithembu, they were born after Uthando Nesithembu, and now this is a reality show for children who are born in that kind of a setup. This episode triggered me to read more about the psychological impact of the polygamous marriage or a polygamous relationship, and what is the impact that it has on women and children who are born in that kind of a relationship or a marriage. So today I'm going to read the result and the discussion that is in this article that was published by BMC Pregnancy and Childbirth on Open Access, published on the 13th December 2021. The title says a psychological impact of polygamous marriage on women and children, a systematic review and meta analysis. So I'm not going to read the background, the method, the other statistical information. I'll leave it for those people who are interested in the psychological kind of studies to download this article for themselves. But why I felt it's important to use this article, it's because of the fact that they are mentioning that they used 24 studies to fulfill the eligibility criteria, and out of the 23 studies, out of the 24, rather, 23 studies had a low risk of biasness. So I think we can trust the results that will come out of a research like that. And another thing, what I've noticed is that they are using a lot of psychological tool or analysis tool to determine the result and the screening that they did. So we can also trust that because it was done by people in the field. Okay, I will pass a lot of statistical data right now and how these tools were assessed and the result that they got from this assessment, and go to a section where they were discussing now the result. And the article is saying the review was conducted to determine the psychological impact of polygamous marriage among women and children. The pool prevalence of polygamous marriage in women from 17 studies was 41%. Amongst women, depression was found to be significant different between polygamous and monogamous marriage. Women and children in polygamous marriages have a higher score in somatization, obsessive compulsive, interpersonal sensitivity, anxiety, hostility, phobia, paranoia, psychotism, and GSI compared to monogamous marriage. I will want to put a disclaimer that I'm not a health expert, but all these diseases that are mentioned here are negative, and they have a negative impact on women and children. Various research reported that the first wife in polygamous marriage will have a high risk of depression, anxiety, and negative attitude. The researchers reported similar findings as their current meta-analysis, where women in polygamous marriage have 2 times a high risk of developing depression compared to monogamous marriages. The first wife syndrome, where the first wife is reported difficulties facing psychological, physical, and social problems among women in polygamous marriage. This syndrome goes through a course of reaction where the initial response from the first wife after being informed of her husband remarrying is in the form of nervous breakdown, emotional upset, outburst of anger. I can just imagine. It is very traumatic. Negative attitude towards the husband and hostility towards the first wife always exist. After a lapse of time and gradual adaptation, these women reported that negative physical, psychological, and social attitude will decrease. underline, will decrease, not that it won't be there, but there will be a slight decrease. They also reported that a transition from being a sole wife to a senior wife is very traumatic, leading to a senior wife having a loss of self-esteem. Probably they ask themselves a lot whether is it that I'm not enough? What is it about me that necessitated that he must marry a second, a third wife, and so forth? This circumstance encourages them to withdraw from their social network, contributing to feeling lonely among these polygamous wives. Women in polygamous marriage score significantly high in all psychological dimensions. Somatization, interpersonal sensitivity, depression, anxiety, and phobia, paranoia, psychotism, and GSI. And these findings were similar to another review that they're mentioning here. This article also indicates that somatization might be more prevalent in a non-Western world than in the West. This may be due to an ethnicity of Arabs, where exhibiting somatization behavior is one of the major ways to express emotional distress. In this culture, the first wife is usually not consulted when her husband is to remarry, leading to a fewer familiar, social, and economical resources where it can be distressing. This will lead to a first wife in polygamous marriage having more anxiety, psychosis, paranoia, and feeling of powerlessness than the second and the third wife. So it explains that the second and third wife, obviously, they know the kind of setup that they are going to enter into, unlike the first wife. And in instances where she's not even consulted, it's even worse. Apart from that, this meta-analysis also reports that family functioning score have been worse in women with polygamous marriage than monogamous marriage. It may be due to husband's attention being divided between the two families or three families and so forth, thus economic resources becoming more diluted. One study reported that family functioning and financial status depend on one another, strongly associated with mental disorder. A worsened family economic situation could lead to a poorer family functioning. The resources are now split into 2 or 4 times, I don't know. Children from polygamous parents experience more psychological impact compared to monogamous parents. However, these findings were limited to only 2 studies. I think it doesn't matter whether 2 studies, but the results are self-explanatory that there's more psychological impact even on children. A review based on 5 papers conclude that children from polygamous families have a higher level of psychological impact than those from monogamous family. This article suggested that polygamy effects on children are more noticeable and as they grow up. Children in polygamous marriage will have low academic achievement. Ne? And they are continuing to say this academic achievement were assessed using the exam result in grade 6. They have difficulty adjusting to their school, thus indicating that these social problems were impacted by their parents' polygamous marriage that have affected their formal education system. The children of these marriages will also have a huge disadvantage in their education and increase in school grow up. I would like to assume that it is not only psychological impact and school dropping out kind of challenges. I think even socially, I think even when they now pursue their own marriages, they will forever having to deal with the impact that they had in their childhood. Hence, we always hear that it's important to deal with your childhood traumas. So for men and women who are pursuing this kind of marriages and relationship kind of setup, it is important to look after your children as well as the psychological impact that it has on women, and the feeling that it really brings out, and the hatred thereof, because this article is also showing us that the first wife will forever resent the second wife and the husband for putting her in that kind of a situation. Thank you very much for listening. Before you step down from this video, please subscribe, please, 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 so that we can read more content and get educated and get informed, and also grow the community. And yeah, man, please also press the notification button so that you can get to know when we have uploaded the videos. Comment down below if you are a child that is from a family, a polygamous family. Yeah, man, all I can just say, please enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so much.